I never imagined our marriage would reach this point. For years, I was convinced we shared something unique, a connection that few couples manage to keep alive over time. Naturally, we experienced our highs and lows, but we always discovered a way back to one another. We had endured so much as a team, weathered difficulties, rejoiced in victories, and constructed a life that seemed unbreakable. But that evening, as we sat at the dining table, the flickering candlelight casting gentle shadows on the walls, my wife, Emily, placed her fork down, inhaled deeply, and said something that struck me like a blow to the gut. "Michael, I don't know how to express this, but I don't believe I want to be intimate with you anymore." I became motionless, the words echoing in my mind like a distressing nightmare I couldn't escape. Initially, I thought she was joking, attempting to lighten the mood with one of her dry, sarcastic comments. However, her tone was earnest, nearly frigid. There was no hint of humor in her eyes, only a form of distant determination I couldn't recognize. I attempted to laugh it off, perhaps to alleviate the strain, but her face didn't change. It was as if she had practiced that line many times, deliberately selecting the words and the moment, as if she was finally prepared to voice it. But why now? Why this? My thoughts raced as I endeavored to grasp what was occurring. This couldn't be real, could it? We were partners. We had been together for such a long time. We led a life that many envied, a home we crafted from nothing, trips we took to far-off destinations, dreams for a future we envisioned. Intimacy had always been a crucial aspect of our relationship, a bond we depended on, not merely for physical fulfillment, but as a means to remain close, to reassure each other that we were still the same couple who once craved each other's presence. But now she was informing me it was no longer something she desired. "Emily," I said, attempting to organize my thoughts, but my voice emerged softer than I meant, nearly unsteady. "What do you mean? What's happening? I don't comprehend." She lowered her eyes to her plate, pushing the food around absent-mindedly, avoiding my gaze. I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, something I hadn't noticed previously. I tried again, eager to understand her words. "Are you certain? Is something amiss? Did I do something?" She cut me off, her voice unexpectedly quiet yet resolute. "No, Michael, it's not you. I don't feel it anymore. It's just how I feel. It's not about you, it's about me." Her words struck me with the impact of a freight train. It wasn't concerning me. How could that be possible? I reflected on the years we'd spent together, all the moments we'd experienced, the times we had stood by one another through hardships and joys. How could this moment, the one situation I thought we'd never encounter, arrive so abruptly, so unexpectedly? I gulped hard, attempting to suppress the tide of feelings that threatened to engulf me. "But we're married, Emily. We've endured so much together. Doesn't that hold some significance? We can navigate through whatever this is. We can discuss it." She reclined in her chair, folding her arms over her chest, as if bracing herself for a conflict she already believed she had triumphed in. "I don't believe that talking will alter anything, Michael. This isn't something that merely disappears with a discussion. I've been contemplating it for some time, and I think it's necessary for me to be honest with you about my emotions." Her words, chilling and calculated, felt like a barrier gradually erecting between us, and all I could manage was to sit there, gazing at the woman I had cherished for so long, as if I were seeing her anew. Was this the conclusion? How could it be? "What do you mean, Emily? What are you implying?" I inquired, trying to absorb her statements. She folded her arms and averted her gaze, shunning direct eye contact. "It's nothing personal. I don't feel like it anymore. I'm fatigued, you know. The routine, work, everything. It isn't about you, it's about me." At that instant, a blend of perplexity and rejection enveloped me. What did she mean by, "It's not about me"? We were married. We'd been together for years. How could she make such a significant decision without discussing it with me beforehand? I attempted to gather myself. Okay, I get that perhaps you're fatigued or stressed, but this is something we can resolve together. Don't you think? Maybe we can take a break, go on a trip, do something different. We just need to have a conversation about it. But she shook her head, almost in dismissal. Michael, it's not something that a trip will remedy. I genuinely don't desire this anymore. I think you need to acknowledge how I feel. That statement struck me again. Acknowledge how she felt. What about my feelings? My wife, the woman I had shared my life with, was effectively telling me there was no longer a place for me in a crucial aspect of our relationship. I didn't want to escalate it into a confrontation, so I opted to handle it calmly. Emily, please, assist me in understanding what's happening. Did I do something wrong? Did I cease to do something you require? I genuinely want us to navigate through this together. She exhaled once more, this occasion with annoyance. Michael, I've previously mentioned that it isn't about you. I have simply evolved. Individuals evolve, you understand. I fail to comprehend why this must be such a significant problem. The connection I was attempting to maintain started to fade away. Not a big deal. Emily, we are married. This is part of what binds us as a couple. How can you expect me to accept this without even trying to comprehend the actual reason? I've already provided you with the reason, she retorted, her tone hardening. I simply don't feel that way anymore. It's as straightforward as that. If you can't accept it, then that's your issue. I got up from the table, my heart racing and my stomach twisting. I didn't want to shout. I didn't want to lose my cool, but the way she spoke, as if this was insignificant, made me feel invisible, as if my emotions didn't hold any value. I went to the bedroom, trying to think clearly. I had always believed that marital issues should be addressed through conversation and understanding, so I decided not to give up. Perhaps she was experiencing something she couldn't express, something that was causing her to be so distant. In the subsequent days, I did everything possible to reconnect with Emily. I attempted to surprise her with special dinners, flowers, and even organized a weekend trip to a spa she had often mentioned wishing to visit. Yet none of it seemed effective. She would greet me with a forced smile, and then return to scrolling on her phone or watching her shows alone on the couch. I began to notice other changes. Emily, who had previously been loving and attentive, now appeared to be in another realm. She spent increasing amounts of time on her phone, and when I posed a question, her replies were brief, almost dismissive. She always found a way to redirect the conversation. It felt as though everything else mattered more than I did. One evening, I chose to address the matter again. Emily, I understand you stated it's not about me, but something has shifted between us. I just want to grasp what's going on. She rolled her eyes. Michael, please, we've already discussed this. I just need some space. Space? I inquired, my voice laced with exasperation. It's not like that, she replied, sounding weary. I just want things to feel lighter. Why do you have to keep bringing this up? Because I care about you, Emily. I care about us. I can't simply overlook the reality that you're distancing yourself, I said, trying to maintain a calm tone. She didn't reply. Instead, she picked up her phone and resumed scrolling, effectively concluding the conversation. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I felt a profound emptiness. What else could I do? I wasn't requesting anything unreasonable. I merely wanted us to return to how we once were, to be partners again, companions. But it seemed like none of that mattered to her anymore. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that Emily had disengaged from our marriage. I began to ponder everything that had occurred, even aspects I had ignored for years. From the outset of our marriage, Emily depended on me financially. I wanted to be a supportive husband, someone she could rely on, so I took on the majority of the financial responsibilities. She frequently mentioned needing to concentrate on her personal development, but in hindsight, I realized that development never truly took place. I started to wonder if she was with me for who I was or merely for what I could offer. That notion troubled me, yet I didn't want to accept it. I was reluctant to acknowledge that the woman I loved might be taking advantage of me. Nonetheless, I continued to make an effort. I believed that if I gave her more time, she'd change her perspective, that she'd recognize how much I cared. However, with each passing day, she appeared more distant and more indifferent. That was when I made a choice. If Emily no longer wanted to see me as her partner, I couldn't keep functioning solely as a provider. I resolved that if she wasn't willing to share her thoughts with me, I wouldn't bear the burden of our marriage alone. Following that troubling discussion, I concluded it was necessary to attempt something different. If the issue was monotony or routine, perhaps I could disrupt the cycle and introduce something fresh to our relationship. I had always heard that maintaining the spark was crucial in long-term marriages, so I thought that might be the missing element. I began looking for ways to invigorate things. I admit I was never the adventurous type regarding this, but I was determined to do whatever was necessary to regain Emily's attention. The subsequent week, I visited a boutique for couples. It was discreet, yet I still felt my hands clammy as I entered. The store clerk was welcoming and assisted me in selecting a few popular items for couples seeking to escape a rut. I purchased several toys, some daring lingerie, massage oils, and even a game that promised to enhance intimacy in a playful manner. Upon returning home, I concealed the bags to keep it a surprise. I meticulously arranged everything, lit candles, played soft music, and adorned the bedroom with rose petals, something I knew she had always considered romantic. When Emily returned from work, I invited her to dinner, which I had prepared myself. It was a simple meal but made with affection. She appeared taken aback by the effort. "Wow, Michael, what's happening? Are you trying to win me over with dinner?" She teased with a smile that didn't fully reach her eyes. "No, I simply wanted us to enjoy a memorable evening. You deserve it. We deserve it." She accepted the meal, yet she appeared preoccupied, checking her phone in between bites. Still, I did not give up. After we were done, I invited her upstairs. "I have a surprise for you," I said, taking her hand. "A surprise?" She raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. Upon entering the bedroom, she looked around and noticed the arrangement. For the first time in weeks, I witnessed a glimmer of interest in her eye. However, it quickly vanished. "This is nice, Michael, but I've already informed you. I'm not in the mood for this." "Emily, it doesn't have to be hurried. I just want us to reconnect. How about we begin with a massage? No pressure, just relaxation." She sighed but consented. I grabbed the massage oil and started massaging her shoulders. Initially, she seemed to unwind, but after a few minutes, she began checking her watch and picking up her phone as if she was restless. "Is everything all right?" I asked, attempting to maintain a calm tone. "Yeah, it's just, I have to get up early tomorrow. I don't think I can truly relax with that in mind." It felt as though no matter what I did, she always found a reason. That night, once more, she turned away from me in bed and drifted off to sleep. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, trying to determine where I had gone wrong. In the next few days, I tried altering my approach. I began taking better care of myself, buying new clothes, dressing more sharply, and working out more frequently. It wasn't solely to impress Emily. It was also to restore my own confidence. When she observed, she remarked, "You're taking better care of yourself lately. Is there a particular reason?" "Yes, I want to feel good about myself, and I also want you to see me as the man you married," I replied. She merely shrugged. "You already look fine the way you are. You don't need all of this." Her response discouraged me, but I persevered. I suggested we could do something together, like dancing or watching an exciting movie to set the tone, but once again she declined, providing excuses such as, "I'm too tired," or "I'm not in the right mindset for that right now." One evening, I decided to utilize one of the games I had purchased. It was simple, featuring questions and challenges aimed at bringing couples closer together. I attempted to make it enjoyable, but her reaction was entirely disheartening. "Michael, please, this is so foolish. We don't need this." "It's not about needing it, Emily. It's about attempting to enjoy ourselves and reconnect." She exhaled and got to her feet. "Listen, I understand you're making an effort, but I've already mentioned, I'm not in that place. You're seeking something that's simply not going to occur." Her remarks struck me intensely. Something that's simply not going to occur. Is that the conclusion? You've already concluded there's no space for closeness in our marriage anymore. Michael, I'm not sure how else to express it. I believe you're hoping for something from me that I just can't offer at this moment. Her tone was gentler now, nearly resigned. She spoke as if she were exhausted, as though this discussion had been burdening her for longer than I realized, longer than I was prepared to acknowledge. However, I wasn't prepared to accept it. I couldn't allow myself to. This wasn't how things were meant to unfold. We were meant to resolve issues together. But why, Emily? Why can't you? If there's something troubling you or pushing you away, please just tell me. I was now desperate. Each word felt like it was dragging me deeper into a pit I couldn't escape from. I wished to comprehend. I had to comprehend. Was it something I had caused? Was it something I had failed to do? I had spent so many years treading lightly, trying to keep her content, maintain the harmony, and yet now, at the one moment I required her to be open, she was closing me out. She shook her head, her expression a blend of annoyance and sorrow. Without uttering another word, she rose and exited the room. The sound of her steps reverberated in my ears as she departed, a haunting reminder of how distant we had grown. She didn't even glance back. I remained there, gazing at the vacant doorway, unable to move, as if the burden of her absence was sufficient to immobilize me. The ensuing silence was stifling. The toys and games I had purchased, the ones we had eagerly anticipated giving to our children someday, now felt like harsh reminders of a future that may never be realized. They lay there, untouched and unvalued, like everything else in my life at that moment. I couldn't even bring myself to reach for them, let alone envision a future where we were still together, still joyful. I felt shamed, my dignity shattered by the one person I believed would never make me feel insignificant. The irritation surged in my chest, like a tidal wave, threatening to overwhelm me. Why was I being treated this way? The questions spiraled in my mind, each one more excruciating than the last. Was I no longer enough for her? Did I do something incorrect? Was I so oblivious to the signs that I failed to notice her gradually slipping away, little by little, until it was too late? It wasn't that I was asking for anything outlandish. I didn't need grand displays or lavish vows. I simply wanted her. I wanted us. I desired the life we had cultivated, the one we had fought for. But now, sitting in that vacant room, it felt like everything I had labored so intensely to build with Emily was collapsing before me, and I was helpless to prevent it. Every minute that elapsed without her return felt like another brick being added to the barrier between us. I reflected on our early days, when we couldn't get enough of one another, when we chatted for hours, shared aspirations, made plans. Those moments seemed so far away now, as if they belonged to someone else's existence. I reached out, but there was nothing to hold on to. No solutions, no understanding, just the acrid taste of remorse. In that instant, I understood that regardless of how deeply I cared for her, regardless of how much I desired to mend things, there was nothing I could do if she wasn't prepared to compromise. She had already reached her conclusion, and I was left behind, clinging to something that was eluding my grasp. The future I envisioned for us seemed like a far-off recollection, a dream that had evaporated before I even had the opportunity to seize it. And for the first time, I had to confront the harsh reality. At times, love alone isn't sufficient.